2025 70.3 Augusta, Georgia. This one's taking place September 28th, 2025. Before we crack on here, make sure you like, subscribe, share. If you need any coaching, assistance, advice, anything like that, please reach out. Contact info is down below. Happy to help. We've had a number of people take us up on that this year, so looking forward to helping people finishing up the rest of this year here. So 70.3 Augusta, let's dive into some details for everyone here. The first thing that we got to look over is the historical weather here. 2022 to 2024 highs were 75, 73, 84, lows 58, 59, 64. Water temperature 73, 73. No data last year. All right, so what does that mean for you? Well, swim could be questionable for wetsuits, but maybe not. Just gonna have to keep an eye on that as the race gets closer. So our swim is a point to point. That means you are going to start over here. You're going to swim down water, down current. You're going to finish right through there. Most technical bits are the finish over there, or right before the finish, where you have to cut back into the finish, the transition zone right there. Make sure you are aware of that on race day. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward swim, literally out here. It is a downriver swim. A lot of athletes are going to stay congested. They're going to, be together a little longer than they would like to be. A lot of athletes, mid-pack athletes, are going to be stuck together pretty much the whole race out there and get really, really frustrated. You're going to want to find these individuals who want to work, and they will work for you. So you can kind of get a dual benefit if you look for the person that's going to get really annoyed out there and just want to blast out there. So make sure you hang on to that rocket booster out there, and you can get a better time than just the standard downriver swim. Also, right, better swimmers are going to have the capability to go a little bit faster. That's going to kind of be at their detriment there. A lot of really, really comfortable, really, really fast swimmers are going to take this assist of speed here, and they're going to take that and kind of push it towards what is physically possible for them. So again, you're going to want to watch out for those athletes as well and just kind of ride their coattails out there. Again, get them a little frustrated, get them a little flustered, and they're just going to want to go, 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 and before they know it, they're going to overdo it even though they are being a stronger swimmer. So some of these downriver swims here, not all it's cracked up to be sometimes. So just be very, very careful there. So, slower swimmers, do your thing out there. Again, keep in mind you're probably going to be around a little more people than you would like out here. It's going to be people pretty much all around you. Just be comfortable, don't panic, and kind of work on some of those things in between now and race day. All right. And that's our swim, believe it or not, done and dusted already. Moving on to our bike. This is a one-loop bike course. As we progress, follow that little blue line out here. This is the Strava profile out here, so you can see that we have the major hills out here. The first one is not super crazy. We are going to kick off with a 6.3%. We're going to identify what it is a little bit in a second here. The second one, we are going to have kind of the same thing right out of the gate. It's going to cool off a little bit, but it's going to continue to go up and up. Our third major hill out here, kicking off with a 3%, it's going to skyrocket to about 5%, and that's going to continue probably the longest so far out here in terms of duration, percentage of the climb. As we continue on the fourth climb out here, we are around a 5.5 to 6%. You will see that, and that happens later on in the climb. The fifth climb out here, the fifth major climb, it does kick up to 4%, pretty standard, and it just kind of holds and peters out over there. Last one, 3.5%, 4% before it does falter out over there. You could see as you're going along over here, if you follow the blue line up top, you can see we are zigging and zagging a healthy amount out here. All right, that means that the elements are going to play a huge factor for you, and you're going to have to figure out what they are doing in order for you to have a little bit of success out there. Speaking of elements, this is our wind. This is Augusta right here. This is our bike course right through here, and we're zigging and zagging back home. So as we go over this, just keep an eye out for home, Augusta right there, and watch out for this area here. First thing, we are recording this on the 28th of July. But you can kind of get a good sense of what's happening out here. Looking at the wind trackers out here, you can see that it is coming out over here, and then it hooks over before slowly going back up and then petering out into a whole lot of nothingness over here. That bright purple means that the wind is not really moving. That's day one. Day two, we're going on a vertical wind, a south to north-ish, but as you can see, we get a really clear view here that it is going at a curved angle over here. And hopefully what you can kind of start gathering here is that we are going to experience some swirls out here. There are going to be some traditional days out here for sure. But as we roll along, you can see here that it's not really straight out here. That means you are going to have swirls out there. You're going to have to battle it. Again, another example of a great wind direction, but then it slowly falls out on the bottom over there and it does swirl again. Same thing here, right over here around Hilton Head. And then the last example right here, you can see that it starts off this way and then before it curves up and it's going up and down and all around. So make sure you are keeping an eye out on the weather, kind of diving into it a little bit more. Find that overarching direction that it is going out there on race day. And take it with a grain of salt. Know where that direction is, but expect it to kind of be coming from every which way out there. Very, very challenging course from the wind perspective. So before we dive into specific scenarios here, let's talk about the aid stations out here. So coming out of the transition over here, you're going to have your first aid station at about 15-ish, a little bit after, miles over there. The next one about 31 miles, and then the third one back through here right after you hit the out and back section over there. What does that look like for you? Well, looks something like this. There's our first one at about 15.2, second one at about 30.7, and I got the third one at 47. If they put it on the other side, you're probably looking at around 30 for 43 and a half. Make sure you do check that out in when you get to a little bit closer or when the athlete guide is posted out there. Two little spots that the aid station couldn't be out there. I've also got two little train tracks for us out here to be aware of. The first one coming a little early in our race here. If I switch it out for you, you can get a good view of this first one right here. Nothing crazy out here, but it is curved. Always like to be make people aware of that. If the weather is a little poor out there, that can not spell disaster for you, but definitely something to be aware of on the race day itself. Second one out here, this is another classic railroad track out here. And what I mean by that is it's usually right before a turn. So most people have to slow down for the track itself, and then we have to turn left out there. So you're going to get hit with a double whammy. After you do make that left-hand turn, you got an open stretch of road out here, which means that you're going to have a great opportunity to get back up to speed pretty quickly out there right by the airport. Last huge thing to be aware of is the turnaround spot over here. You're going to pretty much go all the way around the airport over here, and then you're going to loop around the parking lot before you come back in. The section right through here, I've got it reversed, but you go this way around. This section over here, you are going to be met with a little bit of a hill out here, and it might be a little bit technical. You can find yourself kind of in the wrong gear pretty easy out there on race day. So that's just another thing to watch out for at the turnaround spot. So let's switch it back to make it a little easier on the eyes out here. Now let's go to our little power mapping out here. Before we do that, this scenario, we have our wind scheduled to go this direction on race day, right? As you saw, that doesn't really mean anything. The wind's going to be coming from everywhere, so you're just going to have to kind of gauge it and feel it out there on race day. And I hate kind of saying that in these breakdowns, but you are going to just have to kind of feel it and race with that feel and be aware of what's happening. You're going to have to watch what's going on in front of you and side of you at all times. The weather is going to be a huge factor for you to watch constantly on race day, because hopefully, as you could see here, these zigs and zags on race day are a lot. So you're going to be going pretty much every which direction out there. And just being aware of what the weather is doing, in a general sense, is going to have a huge, huge, huge leg up for you. But for us, we're going from south to north. What that means is we're going to have a headwind pretty much for the majority of the way out. This section out here, you're going to be met with a crosswind, and then you're going to be hit with that headwind out here. This wind doesn't start until about 20-ish, 20.3 miles on race day. If this is the case for you guys, it's going to be kind of a mad dash to get as far as possible down on the bottom of the course before that wind really starts, before it kicks off. Some of those wind scenarios, as you saw, all of those were at 11 a.m., but if you went through a little earlier, you could see that the wind does start out very soft on some days. So this is kind of a little Easter egg right here on the bike course. It's not always going to happen for you, but it might happen out there on race day. So if that's the case, goals should be to try to get to as far as possible down here before that wind really, really kicks off. In this case, that tailwind is going to push us home a lot faster. You're going to have more You're going to have more headwinds over here, a crosswind over here. Back through here, you're going to have a tailwind. That's going to be a great section to kind of pick some speed up. We'll talk about that in a minute. Zig-zagging back through here, you should be happy days if this is the case on race day. All right, let's talk about power. And this athlete has about 240-ish FTP. You can see here, this is their FTP line, 240. We are going to be going above that in a number of different places. If I clean this up over here and I just let you roll, here, let's lower it so you can watch the cyclist on the bottom right. And as we progress through here, we're going to be met with some of those headwinds. Again, this is the section where there is no wind. I highly doubt that that's going to be the case on race day. But if it is, hey-ho, right? And then we are going to be having some wind things happening here. For the most part, all those tailwinds, cross tailwinds, and speed should be a lot higher through here. Flipping around really fast, and this is going to be another section where we do have that headwind going to the turnaround, looping back around for the race finish. So as I've taken speed away, the blues, the elevation, hopefully you can see an easy trend out here. The first part of our race right through here, our power is going to be a little bit higher than the last part of our race. That's because this scenario does have a tailwind. And also, if you're paying attention, we do have some things that we are going to need to go over on race morning. As we talked about, very, very manageable. I just already broke down where the elevation comes. I'll do it very, very, very briefly out here on some of the maps out here. So again, this one, and let's see if we can zoom in on these sections out here. Of course we can't. It's cool. It's live. Here we go. We're doing it live. As we continue through the first one, it kicks off 4.6, and let's just zoom individually here. So there's going to be a lot of bouncing around. Apologies for that. But for the first part of this climb, it's under 4%, kicks up to 4% pretty quick. And then after that, it's going to continue to go up slightly to about that 6.5 area before it rapidly cools off out there. Climb number 2. This is a really important one on race day. You're going to be met with a 1, 2, 3% pretty early on, but you are going to have a great downhill to drive through this hill. As you watch the orange dot up here, right, you're going to be hit with a little bit of a tight turn, so that speed that you drive down is probably going to get eaten up a little bit. So there's probably going to be a lot of power explosions out of this corner out here. Smooth is fast, fast is smooth right through here. And then the elevation will kick up pretty quick here. We're already at about 5.7 here. It's going to rapidly fall off, and then we're at 2.5, 3%, which most athletes have no problem with on race day. Climb number 3. This section out here, the road is pretty straightforward. We do have a slight downhill bend toward this hill. Highly recommend you try to get some speed up here, even if you do have a headwind. Again, don't drive it super, super aggressively. The goal should just be to build that speed through here as conservatively as possible, according to your power plan. As you ramp up this hill out here, we are instantly met with about a 3-ish percent, 3.5%. As we keep rolling up here, it continues to go up to 4.5, and then it, believe it or not, starts to cool down a little bit, and then it ramps back up again before falling off finally. All right, going through this one right through here at the bottom, falling again, we have a great little opportunity for you to build a little bit of speed before it punches you really quickly. It's a really aggressive ramp on this one, 4.5, 5.5%, and then it should drop off a little bit through there, but that one's kind of consistent. All right, next one, second to last one out here. We do have a little bit of a downhill. Again, get that speed up. This one's a little bit of a softer entrance, but we do pop up to 3.2% before capping out at that 4%. We have a little bit of a break in here. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to keep on the pedals. And as you continue up again, you're going to be met with about 2.5%. So a lot of possibility for aero through there. Also, aid station happens right through there, and we are going to hit a right turn right there. So we kind of have a dual slow down effect for you right there. Last major hill out here that everyone's going to be dishing about on race day. We do have a soft entrance over here of about, let's call it 1%. As we hit the climb proper, we are going to be greeted with about 4.5%. And then it does drop off after that. So that's the climbs over there. This is the power profile for us. Again, 240 FTP for this athlete. For that first climb, they're going to be driving into this 250. Second one, they're going to be 253. Third one, 240. Fourth, they are rocking a 253. We are, again, think back to the elevation out here. We're going to start off slow, ramp up in here. This one's peaking out at about 263 before dropping down to about 223, 225. Last one, this one peaks out at about 244. So again, you can see that those areas that are really aggressive, probably over 4.5% for this athlete. If I had to dig in a little bit more, those areas are going to be the go areas out here. So this race more than others, you're going to have the ability to put some power out if you want to. If you are a front runner or a mid packer, you're probably going to have a similar power output schedule like this. All right. The areas at the end are going to be very dependent on aero ability. A lot of people are going to be in the aero position, but just kind of rolling down the road. If you're in that aero position and game face on and continuing on with the plan, you're going to find you're passing a lot of people in that highlighted section there. A lot of people. All right. If you are on the front, you're going to find that you are going to start getting further away from the people behind you there with minimal effort. So this is a sleepy section. So just make sure you're aware of what you are doing out there on race day. All right, time analysis time. Time analysis on this course, if you decrease your drag slightly, you're going to save about 27 seconds. If you were to increase your power by 1%, you're going to save yourself 40 seconds. So two big areas already. Weight, dropping 1%, you're going to save yourself about 12 seconds. Probably more if you are an athlete that does have more weight to lose. This athlete's already at that 155 mark, so not a ton of weight for this person to lose. Rolling resistance here, if you do increase or improve your rolling resistance slightly, you're going to save about 7 seconds on this course. What does that mean for you? So if it was me out here, this is pretty much the standard story for a lot of courses out here. I would really be focused on these two things out here. If you do have the ability to improve some of that rolling resistance, maybe take the gator skins off, then you're going to have the ability to save 1 minute and 13 seconds without shaving off too much. I mean, 1%, you should be able to do that in between now and race day. All right, we're rocking in September here, so you have a ton of time to get ready, right? Theoretically, that should be possible. If it's not possible and you're capped out, I mean, we can have a different conversation, but make another video for that. That will be a good one. Zones on this one. Zone 3 primarily, as most 70.3s are, but you are going to be greeted with about 28 minutes of Zone 4 and Zone 5 for about 1 minute. Those account for the hills out there with a couple other areas for sure, all right? Zone 1 and Zone 2 is going to take up approximately, let's call it 22, 23 minutes, somewhere in there. A lot of up and a lot of down out here for sure. That's our bike, all right? And again, make sure you are aware of those aid stations. Ask which side of the road that's going to be on race day. The run. So our run is another unique one out here. This is a one loop course. We're going to start out over here. You're going to zig and zag running along the river. It's going to be a really cool start, always very picturesque. And you're going to run along the river, cross over, and then this is where it gets a little bit tricky. You're going to continue on, and you're going to rotate around before you dive back up through the course that way. This is the long out and back section out here, running along the little pathway out there, and you're going to go south when you get all the way back, zigzag your way back up. You're going to make your way all the way back around, crossing the bridge to the finish line. What does that look like for you? This is what it looks like. It's pretty busy, but let's just go to the first little section out here to make it a little less busy for a lot of people. So starting off over here, we are going to highlight the first major section out here. This section is our 3-mile section. We got 123 feet of elevation gain of our 470 feet that we're going to be covering on race day. Max grade in this section is that's going to be the steepest grade that you're going to experience on race day. This course is very unique. Very, very cool stuff out here. So what I want to highlight for everyone right away here is we do have a couple areas that we've marked off kind of, I call them hazards, but that's probably the wrong word for them. So we do have, I don't know if you're going to have to run through this path right here, but if you do, we have some poles that you need to watch out for on race day. You're going to kind of see where I'm going with this in a second. All right, the second spot, and I'm only going to show you this one because the other ones are pretty similar to that. You can kind of see it right through there. But as we roll on over here, and hopefully my mouse can work over here, as we roll on, you do have these poles again, right? Not uncommon for athletes to just turn their brain off, so watch out for this. They're probably going to have people and signs and stuff in front of it, but just watch out. There's 3 opportunities for you to run into something, so just be very careful on race day. All right, and that is the huge little watch out marks that you see there on the course. Overall, if we're just talking overall on this course does really have a couple of sections out here. The first section right through here, second section very obvious, followed by the third one right here, and then let's call the fourth one just to the race finish out there. So how do you attack this? All right. So when you start out, this section over here is going to be right along the water. Be very careful not to overdo this. This is going to be where everyone wants to go. We only are carrying 470 feet of elevation gain, so most athletes at this point can already do that. If you're a front mid-packer, most athletes are already doing that in most places in the world here. Obviously, we got to watch out for this second aid station marker right here. Getting to there is going to be a little bit challenging. Don't overdo it. Use this hill as a springboard. Don't springboard on this. Use this as a springboard. Watch your running form for this first 2-mile section out here. You're going to want to establish yourself for sure. Get up to speed out here. Be very, very careful up through this section out here. We've spent a lot of time talking about these 2 miles, and rightfully so. After that, it's pretty straightforward. This is a little bit chunky out here. If you look at if we go back to their site out here, and you go on the run section, scrolling down to their section out here, you could see that it's kind of the same way if you're watching the grade, right? It's kind of bouncing around the whole time, and what you'll see is a lot of 1 to 1.5% out here. Obviously, when you go back down, you're going to be experiencing pretty similar stuff out here. This downhill section should be a huge concern for everyone. That should actually be the trouble spot on course for most people right through here. But what most people are going to do is they're going to see this slight incline over here, and they're going to say, hey, I'm really going to prioritize this section out here. You should definitely do that, right? But also you should definitely not forget this section out here. If you've ever watched some of these races, a lot of athletes have not spectated. Highly recommend that you do spectate a race. You'll see running form just drop right through this section out here. You'll also see times dropping through this section, not uncommon as well. It's a net downhill. Most athletes are going to expect it to be an actual downhill. It's kind of like a false flat downhill. Running mechanics are going to go absolutely haywire during this section. It's going to come at about 6.3 miles out there and last pretty much to 10 miles out there. Be very careful. Alarm bells should be going off in this stretch for you right here. Running form's got to be on right there, right? Another area to watch out for is this section right here. Longest area without aid on course for sure. I don't know. Here's what I don't know for you guys. I don't know if this aid station is going to be dual-sided or not. Hopefully it is. I'm imagining it is, but you don't know if it is right now. So make sure you have 2 aid stations to ask for if they are dual-sided or not. Kind of in the hot corner over there. All right, so another long stretch of road out here, 2.7 all the way to 4.1. That's going to be one of the longer stretches without aid on race day. Also, you do have this section right here from 8.5 to about 10 miles out there with no aid. Sounds like a lot. It's a mile and a half, so don't really overthink it on race day. If you wanted to talk about kind of race coverage out here, you could see that once you do get on this little path out here, we are covered up for a large majority of it. Of course, we're going to be bouncing in and around a lot of trees and openings and clearings, but then you're going to go right back into some of those secluded sections where you are going to be kind of protected from the elements out here. If it's a hot day, that's awesome, right? Watch out for the humidity out there, because if it is humid, some of those really protected areas kind of hold the humidity out there. So you're going to be away from the sun, but you'll just be in a sweat factory out there. So make sure you don't miss that on race day. Nutrition is going to be key on this one. A lot more technical than you want this one or think this one is on the run, but it's going to be a fun one. Good luck, everybody. And again, if you like what you heard, like, subscribe, share, and if you need any coaching assistance, advice, please reach out below. I would love to help you achieve your PR or your race goals for this year. Have a great one, guys. Good luck.